Welcome to Skye's Sweaty Record Review, Episode 9. This is going to be about the band Hippo Campus and their album Bambi. So, when I pick out what I'm going to listen to, Tidal, the service I use, kind of has things picked out for me. And I generally listen to hip hop and I generally listen to techno, so it sort of filters those through. So I thought, I want to really try to actually find something rock and roll, something at least where it's made by a group of musicians who all play instruments, and like there's not 15 producers, or it's not unclear who's doing what on what kind of song. Basically just kind of rock, because that is actually probably the music I listen to the most. And it's also, I think, as someone who's looking for new music and trying to understand new music, the hardest genre to find anything good in these days. At least I feel that a lot of the talent is going towards electronic and towards hip hop. So I thought I'll just give some rock band a chance. And as always, while scanning through all the new albums that came out this week, I just chose based on something superficial. I thought the name Hippo Campus was funny and cool, referring to the part of the brain responsible for memory? I don't know, probably. So what I wanted to do was actually take you on my journey through the album. I knew nothing about them except that the name of the album, Bambi, was kind of interesting. And I looked up their bio on Tidal. And it started off in this depressing way. It talked about they were from Minnesota or Minneapolis. And then it said, they are on a breakout trajectory in 2015. So obviously it hasn't been updated. So that kind of set this interesting thing, like, are these guys washed up? Who are they? Were they anything? So it starts off, I'm going to take you track by track. It starts off with a track called Mistakes, which is sort of pretentious, but well done. It has really nice harmonies. I had no idea what I was going to be listening to, so I thought, is this going to be some kind of Fleet Foxy, super harmony, laid back, folky album? I don't know. It sounded a little bit kind of Brian Eno-ish, with sort of waves of keyboards and setting a very kind of calm tone. And so I thought, okay, I'm all set. I know what this is going to be. And then track 2 pops up, a track called Anxious. And it's like this totally poppy, like this guy's voice is that sort of annoying, I don't know, I think of it as like anonymously handsome lead singer, like lacking personality, but you can tell that he's got confidence and he can sing and he hits all the notes, but just sort of nothing there, just sort of white sauce, just nothing to really hold on to. So I thought, oh no, I can't listen to this whole record. But I thought, you know what? I never listen to something I don't like, because I always just skip through. So let's give it a shot. As I listened to it more, I started to come around, even on this second track. There's a pretty nice lyric where he says that you're not to blame for feeling, which is nice. I thought that was kind of sweet. And I thought, okay, I'm going to task myself with enduring. Will I get over the bland vocals of this predictably handsome lead singer? And by the way, I don't know if he's handsome, but the way he sings, you just have to imagine. Then the next track is this track called Doubt. And this gets like worse. I'm like, oh my God, it sounds like a Vampire Weekend cover band. I'm just like, oh, come on. Just everything's so crisp and way too precious with the lyrics. But then something happens. Like 3/4 of the way through the song, the lead singer kind of drops out finally, and the production gets really interesting. It reminds me of my favorite production of the decade, Moments in Time by Daft Punk. If you don't know it, it's this amazing bit where the electronic sounds get mixed together with the acoustic sounds and gets kind of chopped up in like they do in techno, but with great precision. And this feels, in this song, Doubt, like 3/4 of the way through, that they're reaching that level of production. Just insane montages of different sounds that come together and still manage to sound good. So I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to feel really sorry for the drummer, much like Omar Hakim on the Daft Punk albums. I mean, he has to play these really tight, wonderful drum beats mixed together with all the synthesized and pre-programmed music. So it's actually pretty nice towards the end. He just gets to play like a simple beat, and that's how they end it. I did have to listen to that song twice to get it all, which is to their credit that I actually had to listen to it twice. And then the next song is it's called Bambi. It's the title track. Just kind of middle of the road. Some clever production. Saves it from feeling like, at the time I thought it was like if the Chainsmokers had a baby with Jack Johnson, which is really harsh. Now I sound like a real, jerky music critic. But actually the production on it was good enough that it saved it from just having no value. The next song, Why Even Try, had the best lyric in the album, I think. You are yourself way more than I am. Think about that for a second. You are yourself way more than I am. I don't know. It's kind of nice. A little too much focus on his singing, I feel, in this song. It's weird because it's like his voice lacks personality and is both too present and not present enough at the same time. So because it doesn't have that personality, and it's so high in the mix that it creates this kind of jarring feeling. But again, the more I listen, the more I forgive it. It reminds me of the band 21 Pilots, which, as an old guy with kids or whatever, I was just never going to like them because their lead singer is just like, when I first heard it, it's just the worst. Like, I'm kind of hip hop, I'm kind of rock, but then I gave it a shot, and now I love that lead singer, and so I'm really hesitant just to write something off because of this, and I'm starting to feel the resistance to this lead singer break down, even as I wish it were different. In the middle of the album, they put this kind of slow waltz, and I'm starting to think, okay, actually this is a very nicely consistent record. It starts off kind of slow, has a middle song that's slow. It feels like a whole album. The songs segue well into each other. A little bit of pedal steel. They seem to be sort of going like maybe a little bit more like a Jim James sound, and a little bit more than like the Postal Service, which is also in there. And then like it starts to sound like the Flaming Lips, and at this point I'm just like, is this like a personality crisis record? Like, is this a band that doesn't actually have any real core? Or is it just that they're influenced just like anyone else is, and I should just stop being so creative and, I can pick out their influences? I haven't quite decided. Is it just influence, or are they lacking identity? I don't know. But then the next song is nuts. The next song is the best song on the album. It's called Bubbles. And I thought about it. It's the kind of track like, I used to get mixtapes. I used to trade mixtapes with my friends. I guess you could say playlists now. And often, like, the best song by a band would be put on a mixtape. And sometimes it wouldn't be the most exemplary song. So you'd get it, and you listen to it, and think, this is great. And then you go and you listen to the rest of that band's album, and you're sort of like, it's not that. It's not like that. That's what Bubbles is, because it's this really far out song. It's another one I listened to twice. It starts off with the shuffling guitar and keyboard, and they layer in bass, and then they build in some weird distorted vocals, and it's this kind of gentle shuffling song. And then out of nowhere comes this insanely, totally distorted, blown out middle section. I mean, it's like whenever you're like goofing around and recording, like you sometimes play with the audio levels to imagine like, like really, really blown out sounds. And that's what they went for, and they left it in there. I mean, actually, like, you have to turn it down. But it's really interesting, and it fits with the rest of the song. It doesn't feel like a gimmick. It sounds like they really wanted to get this really blown out, break your speakers sound. And then they followed up with more interesting dynamics with U2 kind of guitar sweeps, which is quite nice, a little bit of flute. And in the end, it's really nice. And then it follows up with the song Honestly, which I just thought was a Strokes mimicry. I mean, even with the audio, the singing, and I'm singing in another room, that kind of audio. But again, the more I listened to it, the more my opinion started to change, because the production on this record is so incredible that they keep on bringing these nice little instances on the guitar. They start to kind of come around with more like dynamics within the instrumentation, and in the end I ended up liking it. The next track, Golden, just feels like filler, but it was interesting. I listened to it and I thought it was filler, but by this point I didn't mind the singer, And then it ends on a song called Passenger, which I think is trying too hard to be an epic album ender, but is not terrible. I was wondering, is this like a reference to... Nah, I'm not even going to say it. So, my final review of Hippo Campus. I think I'm going to have to listen to this more, which is to its credit. There's enough stuff going on with the production that it really feels like they're doing something interesting. In fantasy baseball, which I enjoy playing, sometimes they refer to a player who came up and was super hyped, and then they didn't do anything. And then the next year, they have no value at all. But maybe they will be as good as people thought they would be. And that's called a post-hype sleeper. And I get the sense that this record by Hippo Campus might be a good example of that. You know, they come up in 2015 on the breakthrough trajectory, and they completely flop out. But then this is an impeccably created album with somewhat regrettable vocals. So there it is. I don't think I'll have any post-shower thoughts on this one because this was a super long one. But what's my not catchphrase?